So the Explorer that I'm in, it's the ST. So it's powered by a 3-liter twin turbocharged engine, 400 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque. Like, this is the one you want to go with if you're a big fan of speed. Like if you've got that like need for speed and you're like, I need the power, you definitely want to look at the ST version of the vehicle. There aren't many differences from the 2023 to the 2024. Spec'd out, these things are virtually identical. A little bit pricier 23 to 24. And then the one big difference is the hybrid. So what you'd find in the Limited and the Platinum, unfortunately, is no longer available for the 2024 model. It's almost like Ford's gearing up for something big for the 2025. And that's the thing. This thing is getting a big upgrade for 2025. So it's going to get a refreshed exterior and interior. So do you look at the 24 or the 25? It's going to depend on you. There's one big difference with the infotainment system that I'll point out once we get inside. You're still going to find the Explorer available rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive down in the States, with the intelligent all-wheel drive being the only option up in Canada. But still, having the all-wheel drive for Canadian winters, very, very useful. I love the ST though for the blacked out wheels that you get. I just think they look incredible. And this thing is paired with Pirelli Scorpion Zero tires. There's a lot of technology you're going to find inside of the Explorer. But this thing is the 401 ST, so it's pretty much as loaded as it's going to get. There's the forward sensing system. There's also a front-facing camera for that full 360 view. And this thing has the option for park assist, which is incredible. But the front end styling of the Explorer ST is great. There's that little ST badge, which just pops. Because the hybrid is no longer available inside of the Explorer, there are two different engine choices that are available. So it's the 2.3 liter EcoBoost or this 3-liter turbo engine instead. Power-wise, it's like a complete night and day difference. This thing has 400 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. So if you're the type of person that really loves power, loves having fun, you're going to want to go for the ST, the King Ranch, or the Platinum, which are going to give you this 3-liter turbo. Because when you look at the lower trims, like you look at the XLT, the ST line, the Limited, or the Timber line, those are all going to have the 2.3 liter instead. But don't get me wrong, that 2.3 liter is still a good engine. It's just that I love the performance that you're going to find inside of the ST. You want to at least make sure you're protecting your vehicle though, like regularly scheduled maintenance, regular oil changes, all the basics to get the best possible life out of your ride, protect your investment as well. The manufacturer's warranty in the Ford world, pretty straightforward. It's 3-year, 36,000 mile or 60,000 kilometers for the basic. And then the powertrain is a 5-year, 60,000 mile or 100,000 kilometers. Not too shabby. Filling up fuel inside of the Explorer, unchanged from 23 to 24. It's just along the driver's side. It's an unlocked cover with a capless system that has anti-siphon technology built in. Now, technically, minimum manufacturer's recommendation for the Explorer lineup, so whether that's the 2.3 liter or the 3-liter turbo, are all just regular octane. So just a regular 87 is all you need to use. But having said that, if you go for the 3-liter, so you go for the ST, the King Ranch, or the Platinum, I would definitely recommend trying a 91 octane if it's in your budget. So the horsepower and torque specs are all achieved using a premium fuel. You don't need to use a premium, but at the same time, if you want the best possible performance out of the ride, you want to do it. There are some pieces of technology you're going to find standard across the Explorer lineup. So the reverse wiper, the backup camera, always going to be there. This thing also has the reverse sensing system. The ST is going to have quad tip exhaust. And then this thing also does have the tow package. So there's the 7 and the 4-pin provision, and then just your regular receiver there as well. Towing capacity inside of the Explorer, you're maxing out at 5,600 pounds. And that's when you get into the 3-liter turbocharged engine. So if you need a little bit more, you're bumping yourself up to an Expedition, a Ranger, or an F-150 instead. Getting into the cargo area of the vehicle, if you look just underneath the second R in Explorer, there's a little button there. So you're just going to push. It takes me out. You've got this little cargo area for the vehicle. I'll get to the measurements in just a second. So first thing to point out, you're going to see these little tabs along the 3rd row seats in the back. That's just for the headrest. So you can lower the headrest by pulling those tabs. Now this is just the regular carpeted liner in the back, but there is the option for a thermoplastic rubber tray. This thing, fully removable, And then it gives you a nice amount of storage space back there. So a little bit of storage on the left and right. And then there's also this tray that you can remove as well. And when you remove it, you've got access to the mini spare tire underneath. So it's not a full-size spare tire, it's just the mini. And then the jack is just underneath. So if you ever pop a tire, puncture a tire, you need to change it yourself, you could. But being a Ford owner, you also have access to Ford roadside assistance. And that's good for the powertrain warranty of the vehicle, so the same length. And that's good for tire changing, fuel delivery, winching services, and a few other things. And then there's also a little white spigot tucked along the back there. So if you ever need to fill up using a jerry can, that's where you're going first to make it happen. Some versions of the Explorer are going to have power folding third row seats. Some versions of the Explorer are going to have manual folding third row seats. If you're in the option with the power folding seats, you can only fold it down using the buttons along the side there. So you can fold down the left seat, the right seat, or both of them together. Folding these things down is straightforward. So like I said, left versus right, so you just do a quick push. That's going to fold down the headrest and then fold the seat down. Now, there's no way to fold down the second row seats from the cargo area. So if you have to fold down the seats, you're just going to come, second row door, and then there's two different levers. So there's one along the top. That's not the one you want to use. There's one along the very bottom there, and you're just going to pull that in order to be able to fold down the second row seats. But when you do, there's a boatload of space back here. And then the measurements that I'm using are assuming that we're going right from where the liftgate's going to close, right towards behind the armrest in the first row. So if your driver passenger seats are forwards, backwards a little bit more, it's going to be plus or minus a few inches, just depending on how far back or forward they are. The liftgate itself, it does sit fairly high. So if your garage is too short, you can also pull down. There's a button that you can also push and hold if you wanted to select a unique height as well. The side view mirrors feature turn signals. These things are also heated, and it's got the blind spot monitoring system. So that's going to highlight if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Along the door itself, there's that 5-digit number pad. So you could enter in a 5-digit number to get into the vehicle if you don't have the fob on you. You could push the bottom two in order to lock the doors as well. And then this thing also does have intelligent access. So as long as you've got the key fob on you, you can slide your hand in order to unlock. But I like it. Nice and simple. Along the door itself, you've got your basic unlock lock buttons. And then there's also memory. So the memory buttons here are tied to a few things. So it's tied to your side view mirror, the steering wheel, as well as the seat. So all you do is set your driver's seat up the way that you'd like it, set your steering wheel up the way that you'd like it, and your side view mirror. And then you're going to press and hold either 1, 2, or 3 for it to remember your own personal profile. There are a few different speaker options that are available in the vehicle, which I'll touch on in a minute. Button 4, power folding side view mirrors. You can control your side view, basic window control, and a tiny little bit of door storage. On the inside, there's a series of different buttons there. So this is to open and close the liftgate. Figure out what's going on with your running lamps. Auto mode is the best mode to be in, unless you want your high beams locked out, in which case you're going to be on the always on mode there instead. You could also push there to toggle your fog lamps on or off, and then increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. Getting underneath the hood, you're just pulling twice in order to do that. Nice Ford Performance scuff plate there, because this is the ST version of the vehicle. The seats inside of this thing, the ST obviously are going to be power. So you've got forwards, backwards, up and down. You can adjust your backrest. And then there's also two-way lumbar support of the seat. A few different style seats that are available inside of the Explorer, but I mean, I love that. And even that ST badge there. This thing is nice. Ooh, just noticed that. It's a nice black highlight, and that follows through. Oh yeah, right by the start-stop button, all the way across. Beautiful. And the seats are comfortable. Oh, it's good. The headrest inside of this, also 4-way adjustable, so you can go up, down with it. But also forwards, backwards, to create that perfect position for you for the headrest. So the seat's nice, comfy. There are a few different types of seats that you're going to find available inside of the Explorer. Cloth seats, ActiveX seating material, leather seats, etc. Just depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you've gone for. But one thing that I love about the Explorer ST, the option for ventilated first row seats. I love having a cool butt during the winter, or during the summertime, I should say. During the wintertime, that's straightforward, just hop into some snow. But during the summertime, having ventilated first row seats with leather or faux leather seats, really, really nice. It's good. I like it. And hold on, with the seat as far down. Oh, it's already as far down as it's going to go. So up overhead, I've got 4.5-ish inches of headspace, which is pretty respectable. But, ooh, I like this. Beautiful. Nice simple startup there. Love it. I like the steering wheel inside of the Explorer ST. Comfortable, nice hand positions. It's good. Love it. Like that little ST badge along the very bottom. It's great. But if you want a full walkthrough, like you want to know how to use the steering wheel buttons, go through the cluster screen or through the infotainment system, you'll find those walkthroughs down in the description of this video. But let's go through some basics. So first thing to point out, I should say, on the left side. So you've got the adaptive cruise control system. So you can toggle the system on, and then when it's turned on, there's a distance indicator. So how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you? There's a lane centering button there as well. So there's lane centering and then lane keeping. Lane keeping is going to either shake the steering wheel or nudge you back into your lane, versus lane centering, when the vehicle recognizes the lane markings, this thing is going to keep you perfectly balanced in the lane as you go. Not fully self-driving, but I mean, it's pretty dang close at the same time. You can increase or decrease volume, mute out. Along this side, you can also go through the little cluster screen there. I love the look of that. It's beautiful. You can answer or hang up on a phone call or change songs, radio stations, presets, etc. And then this is a voice command prompt to let you do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice, and a few other things. You're going to find paddle shifters inside the vehicle. But if you want to walk through on how to actually use the paddle shifters in real life, you'll find that walkthrough down in the description of this video. But basics, push there in order to be able to drop gears if you want some launch or rely on engine braking. It's nice. Oh, this is beautiful though. Along the side, you can see speakers all over the place. So there are a few different speaker options that are available inside this vehicle. I mean, that's nice. You're going to be push button start across the entire vehicle lineup. And I like that weave texture there. It'd look better if it was carbon fiber, but I mean, still like this black look, black headliner, etc. Looks pretty sharp. This is the Sync 3 screen that you're going to find inside the vehicle. The Explorer has two different options. So it's either an 8-inch screen that stretches across this way, or it's this larger 10.1 inch instead. I love the look of this one. I'm not a fan of the functionality though. So you can go full screen map, which is nice, but the one thing I don't like is that when you shift into reverse, the backup camera is teeny. And then even when you're connected to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you're only utilizing the top part of the screen as well. So it doesn't utilize the full thing. I wish that it used up more of that real estate, but otherwise, outside of that, I do like what Ford's done with this screen. I can't wait for it to get updated to the Sync 4 screen though, with a little asterisk. So the reason why there's an asterisk is with factory navigation, because inside of the Sync 3 system, factory navigation is included. If you wanted to download updates, I think you're good for 3 years, and then you have to start paying for updates. But inside of the Sync 4 system, Ford's shifting to a connected navigation instead. So you're typically going to get either 3 or 12 months of connected service. And after that 3 or 12 months are up, the map would revert to a dead moving map instead. So it just follows you around, and you can't actually input an end destination unless you subscribe to the service. Oh, subscription revenue. I get why Ford's doing it, but it would be nice just to use factory navigation, hands-free, like with no issues. And that's where the Sync 3 system is going to beat the Sync 4 system. Sync 4 is nice because graphically it's better, it's got a better interface, but having to constantly pay for factory nav, that would just be one reason for me to continue to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze through a phone instead. I get it, when you're roaming, it's going to suck, but that's when you can subscribe to the service for a bit, cancel, whatever the case may be. You've got basics there, like audio, ton of different options, sources. You've got AM, FM, Sirius XM. If you had a USB stick with MP3s on it, that would also be available as an option. This screen doesn't support video playback, so even if you've got video on USB or on your phone, whatever the case may be, won't play back yet. I'm like, that's one thing I'd love to see, like, especially in the Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. When the vehicle's stopped, I would love to be able to see video playback in some of these infotainment systems. One thing you're going to do though, pretty much across the board in every vehicle, works pretty much identically. If you go to your sound settings, drop your treble by 2, crank your bass by 3. That generally gives really good audio. And then inside of the Explorer, there are a few different options for audio. You've got either 6 speakers, 12, or 14, just depending on how you have this thing configured. The 12 and the 14 speaker systems are very identical. They're both really good at the same time. So then let's hop into USB, go to some USB audio, and let's see. So this is coming straight out of the microphone. There's no post-processing done whatsoever. They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that can make sense. Okay. That's at half volume. The audio inside of this thing is incredible. But so those small changes to the treble and the bass make a huge, huge difference. The 6-speaker system inside of the Explorer still is good, but these ones, like the Bang & Olufsen sound system, it's just a step above. It's a more immersive audio experience. It's incredible. Like I said, if you want to walk through on how to actually fully use the screen or hook up Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, etc., that's down in the description of this video. There are a series of great settings available here, basic voice control and things like that. There's a volume rocker, tuning rocker, basics for audio, heated first row seats, but ventilated first row seats as an option there too. There's also a heated steering wheel, and the heated steering wheel all the way around. Obviously without the exception of this, but it's really nice in the wintertime. There's dual zone climate control there, basic climate settings, straightforward. Moving down, got this little tray. It's a 12-volt power point on the inside there on top of that. You've got your rotary shifter. So park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then there's also a manual mode. So the big benefit of the manual mode is really if you're using the paddle shifters. So it's going to let you hold higher RPMs, I should say, at lower gears. So really beneficial if you're, let's say, pulling a boat out of water, if you need that extra power, or if you're rocking yourself in the snow, etc. There's an electronic parking brake, auto hold, which is just a basic safety setting. So with that setting turned on, if you're in drive, you come to a complete stop, take your foot off the brake, the car's not going to move. Down there's the auto start stop button. So that's the one that's potentially going to kill power to the engine if you're stopped for an extended period of time. This is your traction control button, so you can toggle traction on or off. And then there's also the downhill brake control or descent control. On top of that, you've got a series of selectable drive modes. So the drive modes, ton of different options that are available. And it changes up the dynamic look of the cluster screen. Like, hold on, we're in sport mode. Watch this. Bam. Just gives you like a meaner, more aggressive look. But each mode does do something different. Like it plays with your traction stability control. It's going to hold onto your shift points a little bit longer depending on which mode you're in. And some of these things are going to disable like traction stability control and a few other things. So which mode you're in is going to depend on which time of year. But I mean, I like that. Even looking, like you can see, we're kind of tilted to the side there a little bit. And then you can also tell up and down. So your vehicle tilt and roll, steering angle is there. So if you're taking this thing off-road, there is a little counter there that's available, which is pretty useful. It's kind of nice though. I like that. I honestly love the look of the different modes, like even eco mode. Typically you're not going to find me in eco mode, but I mean, look at that. Nice and simple. I like it. There's a wireless charge pad here. So we're just going to throw your phone there. The armrest here is non-locked. Decent amount of space there. And then there's also a 12-volt power point down there too. The glove box is lockable. A little bit of storage space in there. Up overhead, this thing does have an auto-dimming rear view mirror. From there, a series of different controls. So your cabin light controls. And then there's also controls for the sunroof. So you've got ones to control the actual shade. So single button press opens the shade up halfway. Then you can either continue to open it up the full way if you want to, or you can vent out or open up. So with the roof closed, you can push there to vent out, or you can just push to open up. Single press opens it up most of the way. Secondary button press opens it up that last little bit. And then just single button press in order to close. Honestly, I love how much the panoramic roof opens up the vehicle itself. I normally don't drive with the roof itself open, but just to have this open is beautiful. And then just, like I said, open and close that way. Typical Ford styling with the sunglasses holder. There's a little home link system, so if you've got a garage door opener at home, you can easily program that in. Check down in the description of the video for the walkthrough on how to set this up. There's a little ticket receipt holder, vanity mirror with lights built in, and then this thing extends out, blocking all of the sun that might be hitting your face. Now hold on, with the seat set up the way that I would traditionally drive. Yeah, there we go. So with the seat set up this way, I'm 6 feet tall, and inside of the second row, I've got a great amount of knee space, great amount of foot space, and up overhead, like 1.5-ish of head space. So there's not a ton of space back here. But one nice thing is that the lever that we would use in order to be able to fold the seat down, you can also extend it back a tiny little bit for a recline. And then when I'm reclined, 4.5-ish inches of headspace. So if you're taller sitting in the second row of the Explorer, you definitely want to recline the seats. Just in between your legs there's also this little bar. So you can pull that if you wanted to slide the seat forwards or backwards a little bit more. Creates plenty of space. But there are some pockets behind the first row seats on the driver and on the passenger side. Just behind the armrest there's also a series of different buttons that you can see. So basic climate control settings, you can control the fan speed, the temperature, whether or not it's going to your face feet, and then there's also the option for second row heated seats. And that's strictly going to be for the outboard seats. So if you have the bench configuration, this middle seat would never be heated. A few other things, there's also 2 USB Type-C power points, strictly for charging. And then there's also a 150 watt wall outlet back there too. Down from there, you can also see this little guy. So there's also a few cup holders back there. It's kind of nice. Like, obviously you wouldn't have cup holders because there's no bench seat there, but that would be available inside of the bench. It's just nice. You've got cup holders back there too. Now the door is straightforward. Like, you've got speakers, storage, etc. But there's also a little shade. And that's the same on the driver passenger side. Kind of nice. Little vent control on both the driver passenger side, as well as a little hook and a light there too. You've got a few different options for configurations for the Explorer. So it's either going to be a 6 or a 7 seat configuration. So you're going to have 2 seats in the front, 2 in the back. And then there's also the option for either 2 or 3 seats in the middle here. So I personally prefer the dual captain's chairs with the easy pass through to the second or the third row. But that's going to be a matter of preference, because if you need the additional seat, you can get it at time of ordering from the factory. You can't just add in a jump seat aftermarket either. So if you're in an Explorer with the dual captain's chairs, you could go to an upfitter in order to be able to replace this out and just install a bench instead. It's just that there's no way you can just install a jump seat afterwards. I just like having this seat because you can just easily pass through. Tweet! It's way easier getting into this third row seat, doing that. Now, this seat obviously is as far back as it's going to go. It is super uncomfortable with the seat as far back as it'll go. But, kick a leg out. I mean, realistically though, just get the person in this seat to move the seat up just a tiny little bit more. But the headspace inside of the third row, it's tight. Like, I've got sitting fully upright, like maybe half an inch, maybe an inch of headspace there. So not a ton of space by any stretch of the imagination, but seats in the third row, these things aren't that comfortable by any stretch. So I'd probably recommend, like, you've got your anchor points and then there's tether points in the third row. So just put your child seats in the third row there instead. But honestly, there's not much back here. You've got your tether points for the second row, some cup holders back there. Nothing too crazy there. Up overhead, there's a little vent control and then a cabin light too. And that mirrors what's going on with this side. Now, obviously, if you had the option with the bench seat, in order to get out, you obviously just can't pass through. So along the very top, there's a little lever. You're just going to pull that and push the seat forward in order to get outside. I love this thing. So this Explorer ST suspension is good. There is the option though. Hold on. There is the option though for the Timberline version of the Explorer. So if your plan is to take a vehicle off-road, I'd probably recommend looking at the Timberline. You've got the 3.58 Torsen differential, different suspension as well. The downside though to the Timberline is that you can only find it with the 2.3 liter EcoBoost. Like I said, the 2.3 liter, it still is a good engine. It's just that for the power, the ST, hands down, is the way to go. And there are some killer builds that other YouTubers have done, taking theirs onto the track. So that's one cool thing. Like, you do a stage 1 Whipple tune, and this thing pushes at like 450 plus horsepower. They're like on par with the Mustang GT performance-wise. It is crazy. I mean, You need it, you got it. 3-liter turbo power. Oh, I love it. One thing that I like about the Explorer is that you've also got the option for paddle shifters. So paddle shifters, in a nutshell, they're really straightforward and easy to use. If you want to walk through, like if you want to actually know how to use paddle shifters, when to use them, etc., I put a walkthrough video together explaining how it works. It was done on the new S650 Mustang GT, but it works the same way across the entire vehicle. Like, it's actually pretty much every vehicle. It works the exact same way for. And that was a look at the Ford Explorer ST. You can find a build link for this specific Explorer, the contact details for Formula Ford, and all the fun tech walkthroughs in the description. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.